You are listening to original story from nuts.com. Enjoy.
The human outpost on the desolate planet Lapis IV was never meant to be a fortress. It was an environmental shelter designed to protect its occupants from the planet's deadly dust storms and frequent meteor showers. Only a handful of scientists and engineers lived there, studying the barren world and its unique geological properties. In the midst of their routine operations, a strange blip appeared on the outpost's radar. At first, the crew assumed it was a malfunction, a blip caused by some meteorite. However, as the blip drew closer, it was clear that something else was approaching. Without warning, beams of energy shot down from the sky, impacting the outer walls of the outpost. The crew scrambled for cover, their hearts pounding in confusion and fear. But as the smoke cleared, they were left with a surprising sight. The outpost, designed to withstand the harshest storms, had easily absorbed the impact of the unknown weapons. The exterior panels showed only superficial dents and scorch marks. Captain Harris, the leader of the outpost, gathered the crew in the control room. "This can't be a full-scale attack," he said. "Their weapons barely scratched the surface. It's more like a warning." But while the humans assumed they had just been issued a cautionary message, the aliens on board the attacking ships, a humanoid species with blue-tinted skin and a cold, warlike nature, were convinced they had achieved a great victory. The human structure, they believed, was a fortress. They celebrated what they perceived as a devastating blow, unaware that their weapons had been completely ineffective. As the attack continued, the human crew frantically searched for any way to defend themselves. Their outpost had no weapons. It had never been designed for combat. But they did have something else. In their desperate search, they remembered the meteorite defense system, an array of ground-based beams meant to break up large asteroids before they could impact the surface. In a last-ditch effort, they aimed the beam at one of the attacking ships. With a low hum, the beam fired into the sky. The alien ship, expecting little resistance, was obliterated in a flash of fire and debris. The crew stared at their monitors, speechless. They had just destroyed an alien ship with a tool designed to break rocks. "Did we just—" one of the technicians stammered. Captain Harris clenched his fists. "We might have just made things worse." The surviving alien ships, terrified at the sudden and unexpected destruction of their ally, retreated from the planet. As they left, the humans watched them go, unsure of what had just transpired. But one thing was clear. This alien species now saw humans as an incomprehensible, lethal force. In the aftermath of the attack, panic spread through the outpost. They had made contact with an unknown species, and in their desperation, they had destroyed one of their ships. What if these aliens returned with a larger force? What if they attacked Earth? Over the next several months, messages were relayed back to Earth, and soon the entire human civilization was mobilized. The outpost on Lapis IV began to research military technology, converting what they had learned about energy shielding and weaponry into something far more advanced than they had ever envisioned. Earth's governments, realizing the potential danger, funded the development of orbital drones, energy shields, and powerful defensive weapons that could be launched into space at a moment's notice. The humans worked tirelessly, not out of a desire for conquest, but out of fear. They believed the aliens would return, seeking revenge. And when they did, humanity would be ready. Long before humans had even begun colonizing distant worlds, the Xuron Empire had already claimed vast swaths of the galaxy. Their empire had expanded aggressively over centuries, driven by the belief that they were destined to rule and protect the galaxy from perceived threats. They had encountered and assimilated numerous species, some through diplomacy, but most through conquest. The Xuron had been monitoring the galactic outskirts, always alert to any new threats that might arise. To them, any unknown species that showed signs of expansion was potentially dangerous. They believed that unchecked growth would eventually lead to competition for resources, or worse, a direct challenge to their rule. This paranoia had been instilled in their culture for generations, stemming from an ancient war with a now extinct species that had nearly brought them to ruin. So, when the Xuron detected the human presence on Lapis IV, a planet they had scouted but deemed unworthy of colonization, alarm bells rang throughout the Empire. The humans had established an outpost in a sector the Xuron considered within their sphere of influence. Though the humans were clearly a new player on the galactic stage, the Xuron Council feared that allowing them to grow unchecked could result in a powerful and unpredictable adversary. The decision to attack was swift. The Xuron intended to intimidate the humans, show them the power of their empire, and cow them into submission before they could become a serious threat. It was supposed to be a show of force, a strike to demonstrate superiority without fully annihilating the outpost. However, the Xuron's attack had failed spectacularly, and their retreat had only deepened their mistrust of the humans. On their homeworld, the aliens, called the Xuron by their own people, were in disarray. They had attacked a small outpost on a distant world, expecting little resistance. Instead, they had been met with impenetrable defenses and a weapon of such devastating power that it had obliterated one of their strongest ships in an instant. The Xuron Council convened to discuss the matter. They were a species bred for conquest, and they could not comprehend how this seemingly insignificant species could possess such powerful technology. The humans, one council member began, are far more dangerous than we imagined. If they have technology like this on a distant outpost, what must their homeworld be like? We must destroy them before they destroy us. It was decided. The Xuron Empire would rebuild its fleet, stronger than before, and return to finish what they had started. The humans were now considered the greatest threat in the galaxy, a species whose unchecked growth and technology could one day dominate the universe. 13 years passed. The humans, though still uncertain about the aliens' motives, prepared for the worst. Thousands of drones now orbited Lapis IV, capable of detecting and repelling any incoming attack. Space stations equipped with powerful railguns and missile arrays were stationed around the solar system. Ground defenses, including more advanced versions of the meteorite beams, were installed on every human outpost and colony. Humanity had transformed from a scattered collection of explorers into a force capable of defending itself from any extraterrestrial threat. Yet, despite their newfound military strength, the humans still sought peace. They had no desire for war, but they would defend their home and their colonies if necessary. On their homeworld, the aliens, called the Xuron by their own people, were in disarray. They had attacked a small outpost on a distant world, expecting little resistance. Instead, they had been met with impenetrable defenses and a weapon of such devastating power that it had obliterated one of their strongest ships in an instant. The Xuron Council convened to discuss the matter. They were a species bred for conquest, and they could not comprehend how this seemingly insignificant species could possess such powerful technology. The humans, one council member began, are far more dangerous than we imagined. If they have technology like this on a distant outpost, what must their home world be like? We must destroy them before they destroy us. It was decided. The Xuron Empire would rebuild its fleet, stronger than before, and return to finish what they had started. The humans were now considered the greatest threat in the galaxy, a species whose unchecked growth and technology could one day dominate the universe. 13 years passed. The humans, though still uncertain about the aliens' motives, prepared for the worst. Thousands of drones now orbited Lapis IV, capable of detecting and repelling any incoming attack. Space stations equipped with powerful railguns and missile arrays were stationed around the solar system. Ground defenses, including more advanced versions of the meteorite beams, were installed on every human outpost and colony. Humanity had transformed from a scattered collection of explorers into a force capable of defending itself from any extraterrestrial threat. Yet, despite their newfound military strength, the humans still sought peace. They had no desire for war, but they would defend their home and their colonies if necessary. The Xuron believed that humanity was simply biding its time, waiting to unleash its full power on the galaxy. The humans, however, were still left wondering why this species kept attacking them. They had no way of communicating with the Xuron, no way to explain that they wanted peace, not war. The galaxy had been thrown into a spiral of fear and misunderstanding. Humanity, a species born from the need to survive, had become the unwitting source of terror for the Xuron. The humans, on the other hand, lived in constant vigilance, not knowing when or why the Xuron would strike again. As the Xuron fled back to their homeworld, their leadership debated what to do next. Some advocated for total war, for the creation of a weapon so powerful it could destroy an entire human planet. Others feared that such a move would only provoke humanity further, and that perhaps it was best to leave the humans alone. Meanwhile, humanity stood on the brink of becoming a fully militarized society, always prepared for an attack that might never come. While Earth and its colonies thrived, they were constantly haunted by the knowledge that, out there, an alien species saw them as the ultimate enemy. And so, the uneasy tension remained, a galaxy on the edge of conflict, driven by fear, misunderstanding, and the relentless will to survive. 13 years had passed since the first encounter, and the humans had spent much of that time preparing for war, but also preparing for communication. Recognizing that they had no understanding of the species attacking them, Earth's best minds worked tirelessly to develop a technology capable of bridging the communication gap. Using intercepted transmissions and recordings of the Xuron speech patterns from the initial encounter, linguists and AI specialists combined their efforts to build a real-time translation device. The breakthrough came when a deep space probe captured a stray Xuron communication signal, allowing the humans to refine their language model. By the time the Xuron fleet returned, humanity was ready, not just with weapons, but with words. As the second Xuron assault was unfolding, the humans activated the translation device. Their drones broadcast a message in Xuron language toward the invading fleet. To the species known as Xuron, the message began, "We are humans. We do not seek war or conquest. We wish to understand why you attack us. Let us speak, not fight." The message was repeated several times before the Xuron command vessel acknowledged it. The translation device worked, but it was clear the Xuron were deeply suspicious. The Xuron war leader, Draxen Kal, responded with cold formality. "You claim to seek peace, but your actions speak otherwise. You destroyed one of our ships. Your technology far surpasses what we expected. We see through your lies, humans. You are a threat to the galaxy, one we must eliminate before you rise to dominate it." With a line of communication now open, Earth's leaders held an emergency council. The message from the Xuron was both ominous and revealing. The aliens genuinely believed that humanity posed a threat. Earth's diplomats decided to send a counter-message, one that acknowledged the destruction of the Xuron ship, but emphasized their desire for peace. To the Xuron leadership, the human response said, "The destruction of your ship was not an act of war. It was a desperate defense. You attacked without warning. We do not wish to expand or conquer. We only want to live in peace and protect our worlds from outside aggression." The message was met with silence for several hours. During this time, tension was high on both sides. Human military commanders remained on full alert, knowing that the Xuron could interpret their overtures as weakness. At the same time, the Xuron fleet hovered above Lapis IV, deliberating their next move. Finally, Draxen Kal replied. His voice was as sharp and distrustful as before. "You speak of peace, but we have seen what your people are capable of. In 13 years, you have gone from an unarmed outpost to a planet bristling with weapons. Your drones are everywhere. Your defenses are stronger than we imagined. How can we believe you do not seek to dominate when you have grown so powerful, so quickly?" The human diplomats knew that gaining the Xuron's trust would not be easy. The aliens had lived in a state of paranoia for centuries, and their belief that humanity was a threat ran deep. Earth's leaders prepared a response that would require both honesty and diplomacy. "We understand your fear," the humans responded. "When you attacked us, we were unprepared and vulnerable. We have since built our defenses because we feared you would return to destroy us. Our growth and strength has been driven by fear, not ambition. You are not the only ones who see us as a potential danger. We fear you too. But we do not want war. We want to ensure the survival of our people, just as you do." There was a pause as the message was sent. Earth's leaders knew that revealing their own fears might make them seem weak, but they also hoped it would create a common ground. Both species, after all, were acting out of the same instinct, survival. The Xuron Council, far from the battlefield, debated the response. Some among the Xuron leadership began to see the humans as cautious, perhaps not so different from themselves. Yet others, like Draxen Kal, remained firm in their belief that the humans were playing a dangerous game of deception. On board the Xuron flagship, Drax and Cal paced the command room. The human's words echoed in his mind. Were they truly as fearful as they claimed, or was this just another tactic to lull the Xuron into a false sense of security? The Xuron were not a species accustomed to diplomacy. They conquered, absorbed, and eliminated threats as a matter of survival. But something about this human response made some Xuron Council members pause. Commander Draxon, one of his advisors, spoke. The humans have shown remarkable restraint. They have destroyed several of our ships, yet they have not pursued us beyond their planet's orbit. They broadcast messages of peace while holding us at bay. Perhaps they do not wish to escalate this conflict further. Draxon Cal scowled, his distrust of the humans deep-rooted. But he knew that his own people were starting to question whether a full-scale war with the humans was necessary. "Let us test them," Draxon Cal said. "If they truly desire peace, they will not retaliate when we offer terms." The Xuron's next message came as a surprise to Earth's leaders. Draxon Cal, speaking with the authority of the Xuron Empire, offered the first tentative terms for peace. "We will cease our hostilities if you agree to remain confined to the worlds you currently inhabit. You will not expand further into our territories, nor will you develop weapons beyond what you currently possess. If you agree, we will consider this matter closed. But know this, if you break these terms, we will return, and next time we will not stop until humanity is wiped from existence." The offer was clear, but it was also threatening. The Xuron demanded a promise of stagnation, an assurance that humanity would not continue its growth. Earth's leaders, however, were faced with a difficult choice. Accepting these terms would mean limiting humanity's potential, but rejecting them could lead to a war that might engulf the entire galaxy. The humans prepared their response, knowing that the future of their species and their place in the galaxy hung in the balance. The Xuron's terms for peace sent shockwaves through Earth's leadership. Humanity had always thrived on growth, exploration, and pushing beyond boundaries, both physical and intellectual. The idea of confining themselves to their current worlds, halting expansion, and freezing military development was unthinkable to many. Yet, the threat of war with the Xuron loomed large, and the stakes were nothing short of survival. The United Earth Council convened an emergency session to debate the Xuron's terms. Diplomats, military leaders, scientists, and representatives from Earth's colonies all offered their perspectives. The debate was fierce. "We can't accept these terms," argued Admiral Carter, head of Earth's space fleet. "The Xuron want to trap us in a cage. If we agree to stop our growth, we'll be vulnerable. They'll return one day, stronger, and we'll be sitting ducks." On the other side of the room, Dr. Elena Morales, a leading scientist from the colony on Mars, took a more measured approach. "We need to think long-term. This might be an opportunity for dialogue, for real peace. If we reject their offer outright, we could be condemning ourselves to endless war." Others worried about the philosophical and moral implications of the Xuron's demand. "Are we willing to give up our future, our potential to explore the stars, just to avoid conflict?" One representative asked. "What kind of message does that send to future generations?" Ultimately, the council was divided. A growing faction within Earth's leadership believed that accepting the Xuron's terms might be the only way to avoid a catastrophic war. Others, however, felt that humanity's very identity was at stake. They couldn't allow an alien species to dictate their future. After several days of intense deliberation, Earth's leaders decided to respond with a counteroffer. They knew that outright rejection could provoke another attack, but they also couldn't accept the complete halt to their growth and development. The response had to be delicate, carefully balancing the need for peace with humanity's desire to continue expanding and advancing. The message was transmitted back to the Xuron flagship, where Draxon Cal and his council awaited humanity's response. "To the Xuron leadership," the human message began, "we understand your concerns and share your desire to avoid conflict. However, humanity cannot agree to halt its growth or limit its development. We are a species that thrives on exploration and advancement. While we do not seek to expand into Xuron space, we cannot accept complete stagnation. We propose a compromise, a formal treaty in which we agree to respect your borders and territories. We will remain within our own star systems unless both species agree to joint exploration missions. Furthermore, we offer to engage in scientific and cultural exchanges so that both of our species may learn from one another. We believe that cooperation, rather than isolation, is the key to a lasting peace. The message concluded with an offer to hold an in-person diplomatic summit where representatives from both species could meet and negotiate further. When the Xuron Council received the human counteroffer, reactions were mixed. Some council members saw the proposal as a reasonable compromise, one that would allow the Xuron Empire to focus its resources on internal matters while keeping the humans at arm's length. Others, particularly the more militant factions, viewed the counteroffer as proof of humanity's cunning. They refused to halt their expansion, one council member hissed. This is exactly what we feared. They are stalling, buying time so that they can continue to grow stronger. If we do not stop them now, they will become unstoppable. Draxon Cal stood in silence, weighing the options. He knew that many within the Xuron Empire wanted war, complete and utter domination of the humans before they could become a true threat. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about these humans. Unlike the many species the Xuron had conquered before, the humans seemed genuinely interested in peace. Their words were careful, their actions restrained. If they wanted war, they would have attacked by now, especially with the technological advancements they had made. There is wisdom in their words, Draxon Cal said, finally breaking the silence. We must consider that the humans may indeed seek a path other than conquest, but we will not let our guard down. We will accept their offer to meet, but under conditions that ensure our security. The Xuron Council prepared their response. They agreed to a diplomatic summit, but insisted that it be held on neutral ground, in a solar system uninhabited by either species. The Xuron would arrive with a full escort of warships, ensuring that any human trickery would be met with swift retaliation. The humans, they warned, should arrive with no more than one ship, an exploratory vessel, not a warship. The humans agreed to the Xuron's terms, and within months, preparations were made for the historic summit. The chosen location was a barren, lifeless moon in a system neither species claimed. A massive dome was constructed on the moon's surface, designed to house both human and Xuron delegations. The humans arrived with a single diplomatic vessel, while the Xuron's fleet loomed overhead, casting a long shadow over the moon. The atmosphere inside the dome was tense. On one side of the large, metallic table sat the human delegation, led by Earth's top diplomat, Ambassador Evelyn Rain. On the other side sat Draxon Cal and several high-ranking Xuron officials, their blue skin and hairless features a stark contrast to the humans' appearance. Ambassador Rain spoke first, her voice calm and steady. We appreciate the Xuron Empire's willingness to engage in dialogue. We hope that today marks the beginning of a peaceful future for both our species. Draxon Cal's eyes narrowed as he studied the human ambassador. Peace is a fragile thing, human, he replied. We have seen many species speak of peace, only to betray us when they grow strong enough. How do we know you are different? Ambassador Rain smiled faintly. Because, Commander, we have something to offer besides war. We believe that both of our species can benefit from cooperation. Technology, knowledge, culture, we can share these things. We don't have to see each other as enemies. The negotiations stretched on for hours. The humans proposed a mutual non-aggression pact, along with shared scientific missions in unclaimed regions of space. They also offered to establish trade relations and cultural exchanges, hoping to build trust over time. Draxon Cal listened carefully, but his suspicion remained. You speak of cooperation, but you are already so powerful. You destroyed our ships with ease. What will you do when you become even stronger? Draxon Cal asked. Ambassador Rain took a deep breath. We understand your fear, Commander, but strength doesn't have to mean conquest. Our power is not meant to dominate. It's meant to protect. We are stronger now because we feared you. Perhaps, if we hadn't feared each other, we wouldn't have had to build such defenses. We don't want to live in fear anymore. After hours of tense back and forth, an agreement was finally reached. The Xuron agreed to a cautious peace, with both species respecting each other's borders and engaging in joint scientific ventures. The treaty was signed by both sides, and for the first time since their first contact, there was hope that the humans and the Xuron could coexist. But Draxon Cal still felt uneasy. His military mind couldn't shake the possibility that the humans were biding their time, waiting to grow even more powerful before they struck. Though the treaty was in place, he ordered the Xuron fleet to remain vigilant. They would not be caught off guard again. Back on Earth, the mood was cautiously optimistic. Humanity had managed to avoid a full-scale war with a powerful alien empire, and the future seemed brighter. But beneath the surface, there were whispers. Some human factions felt that the treaty was too restrictive. They wanted to push the boundaries of exploration further, to grow stronger and take control of their own destiny. Others feared that the Xuron would never truly trust them, that war was inevitable. The treaty had been signed, but the seeds of doubt had already been sown, and in the vastness of the galaxy, nothing was ever truly certain. Both humans and Xuron knew that peace was fragile. One misstep, one misunderstanding, and the galaxy could erupt into flames. Just as tensions between the humans and Xuron seemed to calm, a new presence emerged in the far reaches of space. Unbeknownst to both species, a third party had been watching their conflict unfold from the shadows. An ancient, silent force, far more dangerous than either humanity or the Xuron, stirred in the darkness. And as they watched the fledgling peace between the two species, they began to prepare. In the far reaches of the galaxy, beyond even the Xuron Empire's expansive borders, a new threat was awakening. This species, known only in whispers among the oldest civilizations as the Tan, had slumbered for eons. The Tan were not conquerors in the traditional sense. They were manipulators, a race that had seeded chaos and collapse in countless civilizations before fading into myth. Their influence spread silently, pulling strings from the shadows, watching as empires destroyed themselves. The Ch'tan had detected humanity's rise, drawn to the chaos caused by their conflict with the Xuron. They saw opportunity. For centuries, the Ch'tan had waited, watching for species that grew too quickly, too powerfully. Humanity, in their eyes, was ripe for manipulation. But the Xuron also interested them, paranoid, militaristic, on the brink of war. With both species on edge, the Ch'tan prepared to sow division and fear, to push both civilizations toward inevitable destruction. Their influence was subtle, a whisper in the mind of a Xuron commander, a strange signal intercepted by a human satellite, triggering paranoia in Earth's military leadership. These small acts were enough to begin unraveling the fragile peace that had been forged between humanity and the Xuron. Months had passed since the treaty was signed, and both sides were cautiously optimistic that peace might hold. Humanity's joint scientific ventures with the Xuron had made small strides, though the two species still kept a wary distance. However, things began to change when strange, untraceable signals began appearing across human colonies on the edge of Xuron space. These signals, indecipherable at first, were quickly identified as encrypted alien communications. Earth's military intelligence feared it was Xuron interference, though they had no proof. Rumors began to spread throughout the colonies that the Xuron were preparing for a covert strike, a prelude to invasion. Paranoia rippled through the human colonies, and reports of strange sightings, alien ships on the fringes of their space, fueled speculation of betrayal. At the same time, the Tan subtly influenced the Xuron, slipping quiet suggestions into the minds of key leaders. They seeded distrust in Draxon Cal and his military advisors. Unexplained human military movements in space were framed as a prelude to invasion, even though these were standard patrols. The Xuron began to suspect the humans of plotting to violate the treaty, fueling their deep-rooted paranoia. Both sides, unknowingly manipulated by the Tan, began to quietly prepare for the worst. On Lapis IV, the same human outpost where first contact had been made, strange things were happening. Automated systems were malfunctioning, leading to a series of minor but concerning incidents. A communication relay went offline for hours, causing a blackout in their long-range monitoring system. Equipment that had functioned flawlessly for years suddenly showed signs of tampering, though no one could explain how. The human outpost commanders suspected Xuron sabotage, though they had no solid evidence. A rising faction within Earth's military and intelligence networks began to whisper that the Xuron had never truly intended peace, that they were simply waiting for the right moment to strike. Calls for increased military readiness grew louder, and there was even talk of launching preemptive strikes to send a message. At the same time, in the Xuron Empire, their war councils were buzzing with rumors that humanity was secretly building a new fleet of warships, ships that would one day be used to invade Xuron territory. The treaty, some argued, was nothing but a smokescreen for humanity's true intentions. Tensions were once again nearing a breaking point, all while the C'tan watched from the shadows, their plan unfolding perfectly. With tensions rising on both sides, another emergency diplomatic summit was called. Once again, humans and Xuron leaders met on neutral ground to discuss the strange signals and rising hostilities. Ambassador Evelyn Rain represented humanity, while Drax and Cal led the Xuron delegation. The atmosphere was strained from the outset. The humans demanded answers for the mysterious signals and sabotage in their colonies, but the Xuron denied any involvement. In return, Drax and Cal accused humanity of violating the treaty by secretly building military outposts near Xuron borders. "We've done no such thing," Ambassador Rain responded, keeping her tone calm but firm. "Our colonies have reported sightings of Xuron ships, and yet you accuse us of violating the treaty? You humans are devious," Drax and Cal growled. "You hide behind your words while preparing for war. Your actions speak louder than your claims of peace." The summit quickly devolved into accusations and threats. What had begun as a cautious peace agreement now seemed fragile, as both sides prepared for the possibility that war was inevitable. Despite their efforts, Rain and Drax and Cal could not find common ground, and the summit ended in failure. As the summit collapsed, the C'tan saw the time had come to act. For months, they had been content to sow division and mistrust, watching as humanity and the Xuron inched toward conflict. But now, with war on the horizon, they decided to escalate their efforts. In the dead of night, human outposts along the Xuron border were struck by powerful, untraceable energy weapons. These attacks destroyed critical infrastructure and led to dozens of casualties. The humans, believing the Xuron had betrayed the treaty, retaliated in kind, launching drones to intercept what they thought were Xuron warships. On the Xuron side, similar attacks occurred. Outposts were raised by powerful, unknown forces, and to the Xuron, it seemed as if the humans had finally shown their true colors. As both species teetered on the edge of all-out war, the C'tan revealed themselves in a single, chilling broadcast that was simultaneously transmitted to both the human and Xuron homeworlds. The message was spoken in both species' languages and filled every screen across both civilizations. "We are the C'tan. We have watched your conflict, and now we bring you the truth. You are both weak, divided, and unable to see the greater threat you face. You fight amongst yourselves while we stand ready to claim what is ours. Your petty squabbles will lead to your extinction. We are the true power in this galaxy, and now we will take what should have been ours long ago." The message was accompanied by footage of the attacks on both human and Xuron outposts, revealing that the true culprits were the C'tan, not each other. The revelation of the C'tan's manipulations sent shockwaves through both the human and Xuron leadership. On Earth, Ambassador Rain and the United Earth Council were horrified at how easily they had been misled. The Xuron, too, were shaken. For the first time, both species understood that they had been played against each other by a far more dangerous enemy. But there was no time for regret. The C'tan had revealed themselves as a threat to both species, and their warning was clear. If humanity and the Xuron didn't unite against them, they would be wiped out. It was Drax and Cal who made the first move. Swallowing his pride, he sent a message to Earth. "We have been deceived," the message said. "The C'tan are the true enemy. If we do not stand together, they will destroy us both." Earth's leaders knew this was the turning point. The time for mistrust had passed. They replied with an offer of immediate cooperation, and within days, human and Xuron war councils convened for the first time as allies. The alliance was tenuous, built on necessity rather than trust, but it was the only hope they had. The humans and the Xuron now faced a greater challenge than they ever had before. The C'tan, an ancient, manipulative species that had already sown enough division, to nearly cause mutual destruction. With the Khtan preparing for a full-scale invasion, both civilizations pooled their resources, knowledge, and military might. The alliance wasn't easy. The humans and Xuron still held deep suspicions of one another, and tensions flared during joint planning sessions. However, under the pressure of survival, both sides began to find common ground. Humanity's advanced drone technology combined with the Xuron's fleet strength to form a formidable defense. The Khtan arrived in force, their ships vast and terrifying, shaped like shadowy nightmares of dark, jagged material. They moved silently, relying on powerful cloaking and stealth technology that had made them nearly invisible to both species until they struck. The first clash took place on the outskirts of Xuron space, where human and Xuron ships fought side by side for the first time. It was a brutal, chaotic battle, but for the first time, the humans and Xuron worked together against a common enemy. As the war with the Khtan dragged on, both humans and Xuron began to realize that their differences were not as vast as they once believed. Xuron warriors found new respect for human ingenuity and adaptability, while human commanders were impressed by the Xuron's discipline and tactical prowess. Though the war was far from over, this new alliance was slowly transforming from one born of necessity to one of mutual respect. On the battlefield, human and Xuron soldiers fought side by side, defending each other and learning to trust in ways they never imagined possible. The battle for survival was ongoing, but there was hope, a hope that the humans and Xuron could not only defeat the Khtan, but perhaps forge a new future together, united not by fear, but by understanding and shared purpose. And in the darkest of times, that hope was a light that neither the Khtan nor any other force in the galaxy could extinguish. As the war raged on, the Khtan intensified their offensive, deploying fleets larger and more advanced than anything the humans or Xuron had ever encountered. The Khtan's ships appeared to be alive, shifting and adapting in ways that made traditional strategies nearly ineffective. Their energy weapons could bypass shields, their armor seemed impervious to most conventional weapons, and they manipulated space-time in ways that baffled both human and Xuron scientists. Despite this, the humans and Xuron adapted quickly. Human engineers developed modifications to their drones, improving their AI to predict Khtan movements, while Xuron scientists focused on reverse engineering Khtan technology, discovering its weaknesses. Yet even with these advances, the Khtan forces pushed deeper into both Xuron and human-controlled territories. The turning point came when the Khtan launched a direct assault on Earth and the Xuron homeworld of Ixtora. Both species were forced to divide their forces to defend their respective home planets. It was clear to both leaderships that if Earth or Ixtora fell, the war would be lost. During the desperate defense of Earth, human researchers on Mars made a critical discovery. While studying captured Chan technology, they found something astonishing, an ancient signal buried deep within the Khtan communication network. This signal wasn't just a message, it was a control mechanism. It seemed to be the key to the Khtan's ability to manipulate their ships and weapons. The Khtan, it turned out, operated as a hive mind of sorts, controlled by a singular intelligence hidden deep within the core of their fleet. Realizing the importance of this discovery, the human and Xuron alliance devised a risky plan. They would send a joint strike force deep into Khtan space, using the signal to locate and disable this central intelligence. If successful, it would disrupt the entire Khtan war machine, potentially ending the war in one decisive blow. The mission was codenamed Operation Eclipse, and it would require the finest pilots, engineers, and soldiers from both species. Commanding the mission would be Draxon Cal for the Xuron and Colonel Sarah Kane, one of Earth's most experienced strategists. Operation Eclipse began in secret. While the bulk of the human and Xuron fleets held off the relentless Khtan assaults on Earth and Ixtora, the strike team launched from a distant Xuron outpost, using stealth technology to infiltrate Khtan space. Their target, the Central Command Ship, a massive vessel hidden in a nebula on the edge of Khtan territory. As they approached, they encountered waves of Khtan defenses. The strike force fought valiantly, using a combination of human drone technology and Xuron tactical expertise to evade and destroy the Khtan ships. But the deeper they went, the more intense the resistance became. The C'tan seemed to sense the threat and threw everything they had at the small strike force. At the heart of the nebula, they found the command ship, an impossibly large and twisted structure like a living fortress. Using the captured signal, the team managed to disable parts of the ship's outer defenses, but time was running out. The C'tan fleet was closing in. Colonel Kane and Draxon Cal led a small team of elite soldiers aboard the command ship, fighting their way through its corridors, encountering C'tan drones and strange biomechanical defenses. As they reached the core of the ship, they found what they had been searching for, the C'tan Overmind, a vast, pulsating entity of energy and neural networks, the source of the C'tan's hive mind. In a climactic battle, the team planted a series of EMP-based charges designed to disrupt the Overmind's connection to the C'tan fleet. But the Overmind fought back, unleashing waves of mental attacks that threatened to overwhelm the humans and Xuron soldiers. It was a battle not just of physical force, but of willpower and survival. Draxon Cal, realizing that the Overmind was targeting Colonel Kane, made a critical decision. He used a Xuron neural amplifier to divert the Overmind's attack toward himself, allowing Kane and the others to set the charges. As Draxon Cal collapsed under the psychic assault, Colonel Kane detonated the EMP charges, disrupting the Overmind's control. As the EMP charges went off, the C'tan command ship shook violently, its systems going haywire. Across the galaxy, the effects were immediate and devastating for the C'tan. Their ships, once coordinated and nearly unstoppable, began to falter. Without the Overmind's control, the C'tan war machine collapsed into chaos. Ships spun out of control, weapons systems malfunctioned, and their once formidable fleet fell into disarray. The human and Xuron forces defending Earth and Extora took immediate advantage of the situation. Without their hive mind to coordinate them, the C'tan forces became disorganized and vulnerable. Human and Xuron fleets launched a massive counteroffensive, obliterating the remaining C'tan ships. On board the C'tan command ship, Colonel Kane and her team barely escaped as the ship began to disintegrate. They carried the unconscious Draxon Cal back to their vessel, escaping just as the Overmind's ship imploded, sending a shockwave through the nebula. With the destruction of the Overmind, the C'tan's grip on the galaxy was broken. What remained of their fleet retreated into the farthest corners of space, shattered and leaderless. The war was over. The end of the C'tan War marked the beginning of a new chapter in human-Xuron relations. For the first time, both species understood that survival in the galaxy depended on cooperation rather than competition. The war had forced them to overcome centuries of mistrust, and the sacrifices made by both sides had forged an unbreakable bond. Draxon Cal, though weakened from his confrontation with the C'tan Overmind, was hailed as a hero on both Extora and Earth. His willingness to sacrifice himself for the mission symbolized the newfound respect between the two species. Colonel Kane, too, was celebrated for her leadership and bravery, and the two commanders became symbols of the alliance that had saved both of their worlds. In the aftermath of the war, the Xuron Empire and the United Earth Council signed a formal alliance, pledging to support each other in future endeavors, whether in defense or in exploration. Joint scientific missions were established to study the remnants of C'tan technology, and both species began preparing for a future where they would face the galaxy's challenges together, rather than as enemies. The C'tan threat, while vanquished, left a lasting impact on the galaxy. Their manipulations and the near collapse of two powerful species served as a warning to all who sought dominance through fear and deceit. The lessons learned from the C'tan War shaped the policies of both humanity and the Xuron for generations to come. Together, they founded the Galactic Accord, a coalition of species dedicated to ensuring peace and cooperation across the stars. No longer would they allow manipulation and mistrust to drive them to the brink of destruction. The Galactic Accord grew, eventually including other species, as the galaxy entered a new era of unity and exploration. Though scars remained from the war, and the C'tan were still a shadow in the far reaches of the galaxy, the future looked brighter than ever. The human and Xuron alliance proved that even in the darkest of times, understanding and cooperation could overcome the deepest divisions, and that together they could face any threat the galaxy had to offer.
Thank you for listening to Original Story from Nuts.com. Please like, share, or subscribe to help this channel out.